Well, this is a test run of our video for Techspotting, and we want to talk about the new application on the web called Namesake.
Yeah, Namesake's been around since last year. It was started at TechCrunch Disrupt, and a couple of former MySpace executives got it started, but only in the last few weeks did it really pick up, and here in Hawaii in particular, it exploded. Our inboxes are just full of sign-up.
Now, I was quite amazed because, I had seen your invite. I saw an invite from Brian, who was one of the founders, and this was going over the course of maybe the last couple of weeks, but something about last night really kind of launched it into this frenzy.
Right.
What do you think that was due to?
Well, that happens for a lot of services. An invite goes out, it opens up, everybody wants to sign up, they want to get their username, their address, and that's definitely a part of it. Last night, they removed the requirement for you to get an invite from a friend to get in. Anybody could get in. Have you been able to really isolate and identify for someone who wants to know what the heck Namesake is?
Well, the first thing I did when I went on there was to look at a conversation. And it pretty much prompts you to ask a question. And the question that I asked, and as I saw its live nature, was, this looks a lot like Google Wave. So anyway, that was my first sort of attempt to start a conversation. I put that out there, and then I started to see people actually respond to it. And like Wave, it was sort of a real-time update of the conversation that was taking place. So it's a conversation platform. It's,
right.
It's live. It's kind of exciting because it's all happening then.
Well, for certainly people who've been around for a long time, they remember dial-up bulletin boards or Usenet or message boards on the internet. This is basically message board 2.0, 3.0. It's an opportunity or a platform where you can ask questions and have conversations. You might ask a question like, what's the best way to boil corn? That came up today. Or it could just be, who do you think is going to win American Idol? I don't know. It could be anything. But what it adds is the real-time aspect for sure. I found myself stuck on the site because I'm in the middle of an answer to a question, and then it says, someone asked a new question. Somebody endorsed you. Somebody did this. Somebody did that. And while you're in the thread, it says someone else is typing. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to sit and wait for that reply. And I'm like, I am losing my entire day on this website.
Now, the idea of endorsements, what do you think about that? Because it first starts you off by asking you to set up your profile. And through the setting up of your profile, you have to describe what it is that you perhaps are interested in or an expert at or something that can describe you. And that becomes something that people can validate, right? Are you in fact, let's say,
a great cook?
Yeah, or an SEO expert, right? So then people can come in and endorse you. Now that's interesting because I noticed that a lot of people are endorsing others.
Well, it really kind of takes what you get at LinkedIn, which is in all of the mainstream news today, which is a professional networking site where you post your resume and your experience, and people say, oh, Bert Lum is a great business development person, and you write a testimonial. On Namesake, you do these endorsements, but it's just a click of the button. It's like a vote up. It's a thumbs up. And I think that's what makes it really sticky and really interesting. What I thought was odd is that you have to declare what your expertise is, and people can't set one for you. So I might think you're an awesome Zen master, but if you didn't put Zen master, I can't put Zen master. I can only endorse you for the things that you say that you're good
right,
at.
And then there's others that are putting things down that are a little bit, let's say whimsical or almost flippant. Somebody said reverse engineering cookies.
That was Olin Lagan,
yeah.
An entrepreneur, a leader, a community leader, a person who's really interested in sustainable communities. He could come up with some wonderful things that we would be happy to endorse him on. And he goes, his expertise is reverse engineering cookies.
Well,
so it could be anything.
Eroshiro, what did he put down? He put down eating.
Yeah, I will put that too.
And it turns out that was the only thing that he put down, so that's what I endorsed him.
The fascinating and the wonderful thing about Namespace is that unlike your average message board where you've got a topic and you've got threads, and maybe you've got a message board that has personal profiles about you, is that there are so many ways that you can pivot and navigate through the site. So you start a question about, is this like Google Wave? And you tag it Google. You click the word Google and you find all the conversations about Google. Not only that, but on the Google page, it lists the little headshots of anybody who's been endorsed as an expert in Google. So you're like, well, I'm interested in Google. I liked your thread. And then I see, oh, here's other questions about Google. Here's a good conversation. Oh, here's somebody who 53 people say is an expert on Google. I'm going to follow that guy. The way that you can navigate around and find interesting things and really find credible people speaking on a topic, I like a great deal.
Now, obviously right now there's a novelty factor, and there's a lot of people joining. In fact, people are commenting over the fact that Hawaii seems to be very active in namesake. But during this sort of novelty period, there's obviously going to be a lot of activity. The people are signing up. They're setting up their profiles. They're following people. What's going to happen, do you think, in the next couple of weeks or perhaps month from now?
Well, I think that there are people who think this is the next big thing, that this is the new Twitter, and I personally think that Twitter hasn't even met its full potential. When there's something new and exciting, especially if you're one of the first people in, you got the invite or you're connected and you know the right people, there's a thrill in that. And I think I live for that. That's why I sign up for everything. But I agree with you that we have to see something happen here, whether it's critical mass and so some important conversations happen there that only happen there, or that it becomes a comfortable place for people to spend time.
Well, there have been other services that were very similar to this, right?
Right. I was excited about a friend feed. I was excited about there's Quora that's still got a lot of buzz out in the tech sphere, where here's a great conversation platform. But it's, to me, you can see how somebody would go, why do I need to get excited about another place that I need to check in every day to see if somebody's mentioned me, if there's a topic I need to respond to? It's already enough work to keep up with my email, my Facebook, and my Twitter. Why do I need something else? I think one of the things that I like about namespace in particular is that it's open. Right now, at least. That could change. But a little while ago, there was a big news event, and people were commenting it on their Facebook pages, and it was a wonderful debate. We were having a good argument, really intelligent points, and I wanted to share that with people. But if you weren't my friend or you weren't logged into Facebook, you could not see this conversation. If that conversation had happened on Namesake, and I sent you the link, you could see everything in it. It's not hidden behind a login. It's fully scannable and searchable, and only after you read that conversation, maybe you might want to join that conversation. So I think that's one thing that it's got going for it over something like Facebook, which admittedly everybody is on, but I think that's one reason why you might like it.
So what kinds of questions do you think would be engaging so that it will keep your interest going forward into the future?
That's a key question, and actually I'm not sure if people are necessarily going about it the right way. I mean, there's another service called FormSpring where it's like ask me anything, and people are like, Ginger or Marianne or Coke or Pepsi, and there are people on Namesake that are starting conversations for the sake of starting conversations. And I'm not sure if I find that compelling. I don't want to log in and then say, do you like Oreo cookies or Chips Ahoy? Just because they want to have people say something. I did jump in on a Five Guys versus In-N-Out Burger, but if that's all it is, I don't know. What I think people are going to want to see is what you're seeing on Quora, for example, which is, I have a business and I'm having trouble with my marketing strategy. How do you go about finding resources?
Right. I mean, it has to be substantive kinds of conversations, and if they're very light and, like you said, only for the conversation's sake, then it could be considered a waste of time. But I think what they might be trying to do is trying to set up some of these live conversations with people that are notable. I noticed that when there were conversations about Google, people were saying, well, we should get Larry or Sergey into this conversation. Now, if that were to actually happen, and it's a live conversation with somebody like that, that would be pretty compelling.
Yeah, they've been using it as a platform for that, as interviews. There's another service called Convor that was doing the same thing, where we're going to host the conversation leading up to this interview here if you have questions. We got questions for our Hawaii Public Radio show on Namesake, so that could work. Another thing that came up today was, this is, again, it's a historic archive of these conversations, and they pointed us to somebody posting on Namesake, I think they're going to announce that Osama bin Laden is dead. And then you can read down this thread as all of the news is coming in, and they're like, okay, it sounds like it was an airstrike. It sounds like it was a helicopter. Here was the location. Here's the map. And, of course, now we know how that all unfolded. But it's interesting to see this snapshot of a major news event as people all around the internet are like, what's going on? Here's a new link. Here's a new report. The president's on. Here's the Washington Post. And I think that also becomes valuable. And, again, because it's open, I can link you to that. The next tsunami, maybe, might be the make or break moment for a platform like this, where we're all sharing links and trading information and reporting from around the island. And it's not like doing it on Facebook, where you have to be a Facebook user to benefit from it. It's wide open, so we could all be throwing into this tsunami thread, and 2 years later, it could be an important resource.
So if somebody wants to go in and actually get started in Namesake now, there is no invite that's necessary, right?
That's right. You can just go right in. They do want you to authenticate with your Twitter and Facebook account, so you have to have one of those accounts to get started. It's a point of contention for some people. The other thing that the site does is when you sign up, it automatically friends and follows all of your Facebook and Twitter friends. The benefit of that is that sometimes you log into a new service and nothing's happening, nobody's talking to you, and you're like, this is a ghost town, there's nothing happening. So I like it in the sense that you get started off with people you know and like. My concern is that some of those people maybe you don't want to necessarily be following, and then you have to sort of selectively pull out of that. But yep, there's no invite requirement. You can join now. I'm worried that they might have issues with scalability as it gets really popular. If it gets really popular, they might reintroduce the invite period. So even if you're not sure you want to do it, I'd recommend signing up. I mean, you can save the username, whatever your favorite little nickname is. You can get that and have that waiting, because it might not grow into something big, but it could be the next big thing.
Well, and of course, whether it is the next best thing, it is good to experiment with it, experience it, and really find out firsthand what it's all about. So I would suggest if you are able to, get to a computer, get onto the internet, go to namesake.com and log in, join up.
Definitely explore new things, and that's one of the things that we are going to talk about quite a bit here on Techspotting video. And I guess this has been our first trial run.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining us, and there will be more.
Aloha, guys.